Get ready for the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, talking District 4 athletics week in, week out. My name is Brandon Baney, but the guy you all really came to see is Mr. Blackjack, Scott Burton. What's going on, Scotty?
Hey, Brandon, what's happening? I'm not sure if they came to see me or not. You are the face of IdahoSports.com. I am merely a participant that kind of hangs on to your coattails.
You know, I had a colleague one time back when I worked in radio. That was my job before I came on IdahoSports.com full time. And one time I was making a joke and I was in the office, out in the bullpen where everybody sits and has cubicles. And I was like, yeah, I've got that face for radio. And this real crotchety old guy that had been there forever is reading the newspaper. And without even missing a beat, he goes, yeah. And a voice for newspaper.
Perfect. Yeah. First time I heard that, it was back in the day when I was actually doing the news and for Fox station back in the day. And somebody said, hey, you've got the face for radio. And I had to stop for a minute because I was like young at the time. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And then they walked away and it's like, I just got insulted.
Yeah. Yep. So a touch on the slow side, which means you probably wouldn't be a great orator, a good speech deliverer. You know what they say, Scott, those who can't do teach. And
that's what they say, and they're all wrong, by the way.
That's not my best transition. I tried to make it work, but
you did. You try. I'll give you an effort on that one. Most of the time, you're spot on.
Yeah, it's been a long day, but we talked to you last week. You were having a bus crisis because you were taking the Jerome speech team up to Coeur d'Alene for state. You got the bus, and not only did you get the bus, you got the goods.
Yeah, we did. We our young team in a kind of a rebuilding year stepped it up and got it done. They came home as state champions. So, wow, very, very proud of this young team, and wasn't expected, but they performed under pressure. And the speech side of things is the most subjective thing you'll ever deal with, because you're going to have people that score you wrong just because they don't like your hair or your shoes or whatever. Imagine, for our sports people watching a basketball game, but the scoreboard doesn't come on. You're not 100% sure that each basket is worth 2 points, 3 points. A free throw might be 1, it might be 5. You don't know. And then at the end of the game, you just pick out some random person that says, hey, who do you think won? And then they just choose, based on what they saw. And it could be justified, it could be not. It is the most subjective thing that you will ever be involved in, but our kids have to learn how to deal with it and just be that much better than everybody else, so the subjectivity doesn't hurt you as bad. So it's a weird thing if you have never experienced it before, but our kids got it done. I'm very, very proud of them.
Yeah. So let me ask you, because it is subjective, do the judges change year over year, or is it kind of the same crew of judges? Kind of like we have officials for other sports.
Yeah, you get a lot of returning judges that just love to do it, and they come back and they're affiliated with different schools. But then you get new people involved in it. And since there's 14 different categories, people aren't well versed in the 14 different speech categories, but they can certainly tell you how to coach a baseball game or a football game or a basketball game. You know what I'm saying? So they're not as familiar with all of this stuff, but they do the best job they can. It's not in the mainstream, but it's certainly big to these kids and to these schools.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to know was, do you feel like, because Jerome has been a dominant power for so long, do you feel like subconsciously those judges that have been there for a long time know that program has a track record of, do you feel like subconsciously maybe they do lean Jerome a little bit just because of the past success?
You know what? That is a great question, just because in the past, it turned that way a little bit, to where, hey, this is Jerome, make sure you mark them down type thing. It comes with the territory, but I can say now that, we've built through District 4, at least, this great camaraderie that we don't do that to each other. I can't say what happens at state, why people do what they do. But that's why we set the bar so high that it's like, you got to be this much better, because if people try to knock you down, and you do come down, you better be up here so you don't come down as far. And that's why a model of perfection is what we push here, just for those reasons alone. But that was a good question.
Yeah, and how close was the competition? Was it tightly contested? Did you guys pull away?
No, it was tight. In our division, we had it was us followed by Skyview, and then Columbia, and it was tight. I mean, Skyview was, the defending champ from last year, and that's one of the reasons that we all came back and decided to come back this year after taking some time off. Is that, hey, let's get this back to where we're winning all the time, and with the help of Shelby Burke and Trevor Churchman, my two right-hand people were the three-headed coaches for this thing. We were able to get it done. And so, yeah, it was close, but kudos to our kids who weren't even supposed to be in it.
Yeah, that's a tremendous accomplishment. And that is now, what, 20 and 22 years? What's the actual number?
Well, for me personally, it's 21 out of 24 years.
Wow. We got Bill Belichick over here.
We've got great kids that drink the Kool-Aid and great people that help, and they get all the credit.
Yeah, this reminds me of, and you'll appreciate this as a Los Angeles Dodgers fan, but last night, Clayton Kershaw picked up career win number 200, and they're talking to him after the game, and he goes, it doesn't really have much to do with me. It just means I've been on a lot of good teams with a lot of good teammates. Consummate
Absolutely true. And that's so true. I watched that game last night, and I was pulling for Clayton, but you're absolutely right. You can tell that, anytime you win anything, it's never about you. It's about the people that you surround yourself with and the people that you sell the program to. So it's not me. I just happened to be there during those 21 times, but the kids that got it done. So hats off to them.
Good kids, good coaches, and another title for Jerome in speech. We will swing now into the other spring sports that are still competing in regular season play. We kind of teased it on last week's show, Scott, but the big highlight of last weekend was really all the activity taking place in Glens Ferry. There was the annual softball tournament, which brought a lot of teams from East Idaho, West Side, and Soda Springs and North Fremont. They all came over and played well. But really on the baseball side, the Wood Bat Tournament. And this brought a lot of teams from East Idaho as well. Chalice Mackey, the River Cats. We had Grangeville come from all the way up in North Idaho. The 2A powerhouse, Nampa Christian, came over. And it's kind of morphed over the years into a Glens Ferry and Wendell event. Wendell hosts games in both softball and baseball on this weekend. And the Wendell Trojans had a really nice weekend, Scott, punctuated by a huge victory over that 2A baseball powerhouse, Nampa Christian. Yeah,
I mean, what a great momentum builder for Wendell, who's having a really nice year, 11-4 on the season. Yeah, I mean, this is a tournament that brought teams from every district except District 1. I mean, they had representation from all over the place, and a lot of it in the 2A where they can kind of get a feel of where they're going to match up with everybody. But Wendell, wow, going 4-0, including that last game win against Nampa Christian. But for Wendell, it couldn't have gone any better in the tournament than it did, because they played from a lead all the time. They had all of their pitchers throw complete games. I mean, it was just textbook Wendell, and boy, were they impressive.
How did the Wendell players adjust to the wood bats compared to their normal aluminum bats?
Well, the thing about using a wood bat, and we touched on this a little bit, from a hitter standpoint, the hardest thing is going to be your timing, because when you have aluminum bats, I mean, obviously the sweet spot is really almost the entire aluminum bat. You just got to make some contact. The wood bat's a whole lot different, because if you've got a certain sweet spot on a wooden bat that you've got to hit, so your timing's got to be a little bit better. So you've got to put the barrel on the ball instead of just kind of slapping at it or doing whatever and expecting it to travel. And so that has been kind of the big thing with the wood bats. And it's funny how that translates over to the rest of the season. If you're so used to working on your timing and getting your hands through and getting the barrel on the ball, then a lot of times down the road, after you've experienced that, you're hitting from the aluminum bat is so much better as well. But that's the big thing, is getting the sweet spot, and it's harder to hit on a wooden bat.
And so, Wendell, you mentioned 11-4 on the season, putting together a really nice year. Of course, they got to state last year as kind of a plucky underdog type of team. And yet the Trojans are 0-1 where it matters most in the Canyon Conference. They dropped a game with Declo earlier this year by a final score of
11-4.
Yeah, 11-4. And so Declo's sitting there at 6-3 as well, kind of quietly having a nice year.
They are. And matter of fact, they hook up this Friday for a doubleheader, and that's going to determine who hosts the district tournament. So you talk about this conference, it's obviously just Wendell and Glenn's Ferry, but we've seen a lot of good teams come out of this conference or based on the whatever sport you're in. But in baseball here, man, these are two pretty solid teams, and that's a big doubleheader coming up for both these teams on Friday.
Yeah, no love lost between these rivals. Pretty much in every conference, a couple of sports, the community school from Sun Valley might have a team, but for the most part, all year it's been Declo and Wendell slugging it out in every athletic arena possible. I'll have to go back and tally up maybe across all the sports, who had the most head-to-head wins between Declo and Wendell. That might be a fun exercise.
Oh yeah, and that number is going to be really, really high, because that's their entire conference. And and I'm interested to see what this Wendell team does coming out of this tournament too, because they knew Nampa Christian's a two-way powerhouse and they don't lose a heck of a lot, but man, they could not have controlled that game any better than they did. I mentioned just a minute ago that they had all four of their pitchers throw complete games, and only one of those reached the pitch limit count. So that tells you how well they're controlling their hitters. I mean, offensively, they had 32 hits over the weekend. The Nampa Christian game, Cooper Jones started the game and threw a complete game, allowing 2 hits and striking out 5 against Nampa Christian. So they have got some pieces. Cooper was also 2 for 3 at the plate, a double and a triple. They have got some pieces on this Wendell team, and it starts with their pitching, and they've got some guys that can throw the baseball a little bit.
Yeah, and that's so key when you get to state, right? If you have multiple pitchers, because you really do, you need 3, in most cases 4 really solid, dependable guys. And Wendell just happened to play 4 games at that wood bat tournament, and so I think that bodes really well.
Yeah, it does. And the other cool thing that's going on over at Wendell is, a lot of these 2A schools, 1A schools, they don't have a lot of the financial backing to have these awesome facilities that a lot of the 5As and some of the 4As do. But, this Wendell program has had some kids really invest their own time and money into making their facilities better. I mean, senior projects have been a big thing. We talked about that last week, I think it was, with the Buell senior project with the high jump pit, right? Well, Wendell's doing the same thing. Some of their additions is Cooper Jones redid the entire backstop at the baseball field. It was a 40-year-old chain link backstop, and he put the work in and the money in and got it done to where it's got a cement base and netting. And Alex Heride redid the bullpens. He made them turf. They also added another bullpen, so they got 2 bullpens now. Jason Maddox took part in building materials to help chalk lines and by building new batters boxes. I mean, these kids are investing their time and their money, and what that does for a program is it shows the younger kids how important it is to be a part of this program. And if you invest your time and money into the facilities, then it does attract others. And so Wendell's realizing that, and they're doing a heck of a good job in promoting that through Wendell baseball. So their hard work is paying off.
I love to hear that. It was 3 years ago that the Wendell boys basketball team made it to state, and it was the first time they'd gone in a couple of years. And I was talking to their coach, AJ Kelsey. It was his first year in charge of the Wendell program, and he said, we're just excited because this doesn't happen to us a lot. We're kind of a lower income school. We struggle just getting kids out sometimes, and so for us, it's kind of a cool deal. And I think you're seeing an overall renaissance of Wendell athletics. With the football team we talked about it this fall with John Helmendaler coaching those guys almost getting to the playoffs. We're seeing it in baseball, certainly. And so it's kind of cool to see this little renaissance at Wendell.
Well, it is, and if you take pride in your, facilities and your program, then you know what, it will attract people, and I think that's one of the things that is working for Wendell right now, and certainly when I came on as AD here, that was one of my number one things, was just to make sure that we upgraded our facilities as best we can, because that's what the public sees, and it's curb appeal in a way. And if you don't have that, and you don't have the mindset of the kids to invest in that, then you do struggle, because nobody wants to go play and practice on a goat pasture, whether it's football or baseball, or on a floor, a basketball floor that's like an ice rink. I mean, you take care of those, it will attract people.
Yeah. This is kind of off topic because it's a out of season sport, but it's the same idea, and it has to deal with the Magic Valley. Wrestling, we've got a great writer who provides a lot of good wrestling content for us at IdahoSports.com. Al Fontes is his name, and he even writes, during the off season. And he recently did a Q&A with the Rosales twins from Mountain Home, Gabe and Daniel Rosales from Mountain Home, and they're kind of the same deal. They kind of really have that community pride and are carrying the torch for their school and their community, to the point where one of the questions that Al asked them was, once you're done competing with wrestling, do you have plans to stay involved with the sport? And Gabe answered, yes, I want to return to Mountain Home and coach at all levels. So this is a kid saying, hey, I want to come back to my community and give back to the younger generation. That's pretty mature for a kid that's still in high school.
Absolutely. And as a coach, for 100 years, it seems like, when you get those kids that come back, it speaks volumes to the impression that you made on them, and the community made on them too. And so whenever, and that's why I like kind of some of the stuff that we're doing here at Jerome. Is like, I've got a bunch of my coaches that are Jerome grads, because they want to come back and they want to give back to the community that gave so much to them. And to hear stories like that, I mean, that's what it's about, because you don't want to hear kids walking away from high school sports and then just kind of leaving it, behind them and never looking back and remembering what it did for them. But to come back is pretty special.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff going on in the Magic Valley, and this is why we love doing the podcast every week, because we get to shine the spotlight on a lot of these feel-good stories that are taking place in the Magic Valley. The final game of the Glens Ferry Woodbat Tournament featured the hosts from Glens Ferry taking on Lighthouse Christian. This is a team we profiled a couple of weeks ago. It's their first year ever competing in baseball. For the most part, they're playing mostly JV teams from other schools, but the Lighthouse Christian baseball team came over, played the Glens Ferry varsity team, and not only did they come away with a 12-2 victory over Glens Ferry, but in the process, Camden Boyd had the game of his life on the pitching mound. Yeah,
no hitter, 17 strikeouts. Those are the reports we're getting out of Lighthouse. It's like, I mean, think about that for a minute. 7-inning games, 21 outs, 17 of those were strikeouts. That is domination. Yeah, and the 2 runs that he gave up, completely unearned. But not only did he get it done on the bump, I mean, he was 2 for 4 at the plate, a couple of stolen bases. But holy cow, 17 strikeouts. That's insane.
This is a game that, sometimes we see these games that are like in softball, 3 innings, right? Because of the run rule, or, and it's like a 3-inning no hitter, or, 5 innings. This was a full 7 innings, because Lighthouse didn't really pile it on until the last inning. They scored 9 times in the 7th inning to eventually, pull away. This was a true complete game no hitter.
Yeah, and what a nice little feather in the cap of the Lighthouse Christian baseball team, first year program. And I mean, those kinds of wins right there are signature wins for a program. We talk about one guy that really dominated, but for a program, that's a pretty big deal. So kudos to Lighthouse and Camden Boyd.
And I love it because it's every time there's a new program, like there is at Lighthouse, everything that happens is an historic event. First no-hitter in school history, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. First everything, and it could go good and bad too.
That's true. Yeah.
First thing that popped into my head is first guy to ever get ejected out of a baseball game.
Right.
And I was thinking that, because I've been thrown out of my share of games when I was in high school, but Yeah. So good for them. A lot of firsts happening for them.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So that's kind of what's happening in baseball. And I should mention, we just got the newest coaches poll today for softball and baseball. Glenn's Ferry was the number 1 ranked team in 1A baseball, and Lighthouse just came and took it to them. So
wow,
that's
again signature win right there.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see if Lighthouse goes and competes at districts. Their softball team did this last year where they played this kind of hybrid JV varsity schedule, and they said basically, hey, we'll take the 8 seed at districts. And so I'll have to ask if Lighthouse plans on doing the same thing. I would assume so. And just taking the last seed because they're not really competing against everybody in the conference. But
yeah, it'd be interesting because we did that little piece on them a couple of weeks ago, and I can't recall what our conversation was about that, but next year for sure they were going to belong to a conference and have a home.
Yeah. So if they do go play at districts, they could be sneaky. That could be interesting for sure. So, all right. Well, before we get out of here, we wanted to touch on track and field as well. Every Thursday, we're producing our Tracking the Field segment here on IdahoSports.com. I basically get up super early. I drink about 7 or 8 cups of this, and I start tabulating the totals. I
like how you said what this wasn't.
You're right. Yeah, it's mystery beverage.
The mystery beverage. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I do it 5A all the way down to 1A, boys and girls. I go through and score the meet. I look at the leaderboards and, okay, if we're projecting how state might go, here's how the team totals would be. And then I list the top individual in every event as well. And as I've done this now 2 weeks in a row, the Raft River girls keep sitting at number 1 in the projections at the 1A level. And so, hey, no surprise, Raft River's got really good female athletes, right? They just won state basket, or they got very deep into state basketball. Their volleyball team was great. And here they are now in track and field doing the same thing.
Well, and if you look at this girls track team from Raft River, it's not hard to see why they are so good. I mean, Raft River in itself, boys and girls, they've got like 18 state track titles between them. So, I mean, this isn't just a kind of a flash in the pan. Raft River gets it done on the track. And, and before we kind of get into their team a little bit, just to segue into building facilities and stuff like that, Raft River finally has a rubberized track, built this past summer. And so it's going to enable them to host their very first track meet ever at Raft River, which again is really, really cool. They had, that old school dirt track that, we grew up with in the 40s. What they said was that, we hope that wasn't the secret to our success. And now we've got a new track. It's just going to go bye-bye, but really exciting for them. They got a lot of donations, private donations, individuals and businesses that kind of came together and got the track done at Raft River. So that's pretty cool. But you know what? You talk about this Raft River track team, girls team, and talking to their coaches, it's like, they got probably one of the best compliments that they can get. And it came from an opposing school, from an athlete from an opposing school. And they said that because Raft River dominates everything there and people love to hate winners. And they said, this is what they said: I would love to hate Raft River because they are so good, but I can't because they are so nice. And you know what? That is the epitome of winning the right way. You win with your effort. You don't win it with your mouth, and you let everything else take care of itself. And that's kind of what Raft River girls track is doing. And you break down their top contributors, and I can get into that here in a second, but you're going to be talking about people like Libby Bowden, Heidi Harper, Allie Black, Abby Rex, Jesse Knutson, and a lot of times in 4A, you're don't have that many you're going to score that many points for you. But this team is loaded.
Yeah, it's really fun. And as I was thinking about it, Raft River did win the girls basketball championship. I just got, them in Oakley. I get them conflated sometimes, but yes, Raft River did win girls basketball. And you mentioned it, the facilities at Raft River. I always enjoy. It's one of my favorite places to go during football season. I've been there a handful of times. Randy Spaeth, the athletic director at Raft River, always takes real good care of me when I go there. And they always bring me something to eat from the concession stand, whether that's a burger or some of those hot buttered scones. And so it's just a great community of people out there too.
Oh, it is. Little hot crust buns from Raft River is always hits the spot. But no, they take really good care of us when we go out there. And Randy's a great guy. And and I talk about it all the time, and I'll say it one more time. I love those types of 1A towns. They are true Americana. Love it. And they take care of you because they understand hard work, and they understand getting the most out of what little you have.
Yeah. So let's dive into this Raft River team. Who are some of the key athletes? Libby Bowden, I think of right away.
Mm-hmm.
Allie Black, who was such a great cross country athlete for Raft River this fall. But who else is standing out?
Well, let's just start with Libby. You've got Libby Bowden, the 2-time state champion in 3 individual events. The 100, 200, and the long jump from last year. And she's on track again. Set a new PR this year in the long jump at 17.6. And she ran the 200 this year under the state record time, except there was a slight tailwind that made the time not count for any type of record. So she's on track to score bunches of points. And then, junior Heidi Harper, she's a 2-time state champion in the 400 meters, set a new 1A state record last year with a time of 56.23 as a sophomore, and so and she runs the 400 in the medley relay, which set a new 1A state record. And she's, kind of the vocal leader of these relay teams. And, she often runs 3 400s in a single meet along with the 200. And she's been fighting some hip injuries, but she's getting stronger each week. So there's another one right there, and a lot of times those 2 alone are enough to get you team medals at the state tournament. But no, we're not done yet. Okay. Allie Black, the one that you mentioned, she led her cross country team to a championship earlier this year, top runner in the 1A division. But she's got a great shot at winning the 3,200 and the 1,600, so, the list goes on. And let's talk about senior Abby Rex, who's one of the all around great athletes, at Raft River. She completes in the triple jump, pole vault, and the 300 hurdles. And she's got a good shot at placing in all of those. And she runs one of the legs in the 4x4, and she was on the record-setting 4x2 medley last year, and then Jessie Knutson, a vital member of all the relay teams. She was on the record-setting 4x2 as well. And you take all of these kids and look at all of the different events that we just listed, right? That's a lot of points from a lot of from 4 or 5 different kids in a lot of different events. This team is solid, and they've got athletes across the board. And so it's going to be fun to watch for these guys, see if they can set a lot more records, because they had such a great year last year setting records. This year doesn't look like it's going to taper off anytime soon. They're going to get up there and set more records.
Yeah, it's no wonder the Raft River is the top team in our projections, and we're recording this on Wednesday, the 19th. You'll have to go to IdahoSports.com tomorrow to see if Raft River is still at the top of the leaderboard. Spoiler alert, I think they probably are going to be. So,
yeah. Well, you take those guys and you take, other people like, we talked about Sadie Knutson in 300 hurdles, Ashley Christensen in the 16, the 32, and the high jump. And then you got the field events in shot and disc, where you're talking about Ryan Udy, Cassidy Ward, Caroline Schumann. Some of these names we have talked about before. And that's the cool thing about, places like Raft River is these kids aren't just playing basketball, or volleyball. They are playing everything, and they are excelling at everything too, because a lot of those names we've mentioned before.
Yeah, it's lather, rinse, repeat for some of that.
Yeah.
For Raft River. Okay, so track and field fans, if you want a chance to see some of these young ladies from Raft River, Friday we are going to be broadcasting live from the 2023 DirectCom Invitational. It's taking place at Davis Field on the campus of Idaho State University in Pocatello. This is a recently renovated facility. I think it's the best in the state. BSU fans can argue theirs is as well, but It's a beautiful facility. Second year in a row, we're going to be broadcasting the DirectCom invite, and there are 5 Magic Valley teams that are coming over to compete, and they're all at the 1A level, Scott. You've got Raft River, Oakley, Carey, Murtaugh, and Valley. They're all going to be over there competing on Friday. Coverage will start at 10 a.m. That's when the first track and field events start. And it's going to start with the girls 3,200. So you're going to get to see Allie Black right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then also it ends with one of my favorite events, because not every meet has this. It's kind of a, it's kind of a fun, not official event, but the 4x1 throwers relay.
That thing has had so many different names over the years, and it's a fun event. It was the weight man's relay. It was, back when I played, it was fat man relay, but it was all in jest. Nobody's getting upset, that we can't even say that now, but it's like, it's had so many names, but the funness of that event has never changed. It has always been a great way to end a track meet, and people love it, and the throwers love it too.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. And again, that's Friday at 10 a.m. There's going to be some other athletes from other schools to keep an eye on. Kyle Christensen in the jumps from Valley, Addie Mitten in the pole vault and the jumps from Oakley, Shaylee Smith of Carey, big chance at redemption. I don't know if you remember this, Scott, but we talked about it on the podcast last year. She actually won the 100-meter hurdles last year at the DirectCom invite, but there was a malfunction with the timing company. And so they had to rerun the 100-meter hurdles. And on that rerun, she false started, and that was it. She was done. And so big chance of redemption for Shaylee Smith of Carey on Friday as well.
That's right. I remember that. Boy, what an unfortunate series of events that was. It's like, how many times do I have to win this thing? So yeah, that's a great tournament. So anybody tuning into that, you're on the call, and
we're bringing in the big dogs. Paul Kingsbury, Logan Green are going to come over as well. So
nice.
It's going to be a good time. So.
Nice. Calling track meets is a blast. Just got done calling our big Tim Dunn invite here, calling it like a horse race, lane assignments, the whole 9 yards. That is a ton of fun. So, everybody listening, make sure you tune into that. That's going to be great.
Yep. Friday, 10 a.m. on IdahoSports.com. Totally live, totally free. Doesn't cost you anything to watch. Okay, so we've talked a lot about Raft River, and I feel like anytime we talk about Raft River, we also have to talk about Oakley. And kind of a cool story, Fallon Bedke, who is a 6-foot terror on the volleyball and basketball courts and in the rodeo arena, has officially committed to pursue athletics at the next level from Oakley.
Yeah, she has verbally committed to play basketball at CSI for Randy Rogers, and that's coming out of Oakley, from Matt Payton, her head coach. And you and I both have had many opportunities to watch this young lady play, and I know Randy well, and CSI is just down the road, and she's going to be a great fit for that program. And like I said, I know Randy's a good friend of mine. Her personality and work ethic and just toughness is exactly what CSI is about. And so congratulations to her, congratulations to Oakley, to head coach Payton, because everybody has got a hand in getting a kid to the next level. So that's going to be fun to watch, keeping her local.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it sounds like she was weighing some rodeo offers, strongly considering pursuing that. But when CSI basketball comes calling, you take the call.
yeah, you do. Especially considering they were semifinalists this year at the national tournament.
Yeah,
they got a pretty good thing going there.
Yeah, so we'll have lots of fun watching Fallon Bedke compete for CSI at the next level next year. So that'll be a lot of fun. So a lot of good things happening for our Magic Valley athletes. And if there's a story out there about an athlete that's signing at the next level, or a pitcher that threw a no-hitter, or a team you want us to talk about, send me an email, Brandon@IdahoSports.com. I've included it if you're watching the video of this on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel. It's right below my name, Brandon@IdahoSports.com. And we would love to shine the spotlight on all these great young men and women in the Magic Valley.
Yeah, and if you want to get a hold of me, mine's right at the bottom of there, IdahoSportsScott@gmail.com. Reach out to one of us, and we'd love to promote your athletes and go beyond the box score is kind of the mantra that we like to push here.
Yep. So until next time, the competition is going to be great again this weekend. We've got some big baseball, Twin Falls and Minico are kind of on this collision course in baseball. Kimberly softball continuing to play well. So there's lots of good things happening out there for all of our spring sports athletes. And we'll be back again next week to break it all down for you. Thanks for tuning into the Magic Valley Prepcast, everyone. For Scott Burton, I'm Brandon Baney, and we'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.